Ozzy's sick, so I say we record a 1 hour episode and just make him go back through the whole thing.
I love that idea. Suck it, Padres.
Yeah.
We punish everybody
I
for
know.
you.
Ozzy's really worked up about the Padres.
Yeah, I know.
He's not here to defend himself or say anything to the contrary, so
Right.
I'm just going to... I mean, he was sobbing in the office when the Dodgers made it past him.
1,000%.
Yeah, just...
Yeah. I think he called out of work the next day, didn't he?
He did. That's why he's sick right now, is he's so worked up over the Padres. I haven't seen him in a week, dude. To the House, episode 11. If you need homeless or at-risk youth services, you can take it to my house, 300 North Willow Street in downtown Wasilla. Isaac Smold and Bryan Fields. We got a lot to talk about because we got a lot of sports going on. So let's jump right into it and talk about MLB playoffs and my favorite playoff baseball team, the Mets, baby, the Mets.
Oh, they're your favorite now.
Well, no, they're not my favorite baseball team, but they are who I'm rooting for this playoffs.
How dare you?
It's single-handedly keeping the bachelor party group chat from my buddy's wedding a couple weeks ago alive, because that was our running joke, was the Mets. And the Mets are still in it. They are tied with your...
For now.
LA Dodgers, 1-1. There's been some pretty good baseball going on these playoffs, and I think that 3 of these teams would be really exciting to see in the World Series, and one of them is the Yankees.
Up 2-0, yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge got his first home run in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, not a big deal. Shohei's been doing Shohei things. Really sad about the Tigers, and I don't know if you watched any of that series, but the Tigers gave the Guardians a real run for their money, and I watched a lot of that series. But the Guardians, usually this is about the time they start choking. I wouldn't call losing to the Yankees choking. I think it's impressive that they made it to an American League Championship Series, but I picked the Yankees to go to the World Series, and I think that's who it's got to be out of the American League right now. Dodgers-Mets is the interesting divisional series. Have you watched any of that?
I have not. I'm not even going to try to lie like I have. I watched a lot of the Padres series.
Just despite Ozzy.
And I've been kind of sulking this week, so I haven't been super sports. And we'll get into that.
We'll get into why I'm
100%. Sulking and why I'm wearing a Lakers hat every day.
The Dodgers-Mets series, both games have kind of been blowouts. I mean, the Dodgers smacked the Mets around in the first game. Mets came back and were up like 6-0 in the second last game. But I think that things are going to tighten up the deeper this series goes. I think it's going to have to go 6 or 7. And those final games are going to get intense. The other reason I want to root for the Mets is because we could get a Subway series in the playoffs where it's New York versus New York. And that, would go bananas.
Okay, hold on, though. What I don't understand about the Dodgers, and help me here.
Okay.
How do you come out 9-0?
Mm-hmm.
And then come out and lose 3-7.
That's baseball, baby.
That's stupid. How do you look like a world beater? Well, you know what I mean? And then they did the same thing in the series with the Padres, because then those last 2 games, right? The one that they tied it up, it was 8-0.
Yeah.
And then that last game, then they didn't look like the greatest, but
pitching has been an issue for them. Pitching has been a major issue for them.
Explain that to me really quick. Let's run through that. So, I was watching that Padres series, and they're running out 4 pitchers, and the Padres are stuck with one dude till the 7th.
Yeah. I mean, bullpen management is crazy in the playoffs because you play 162 games, right?
Right.
So everyone's already tired. Now you're in the playoffs, and you can play a maximum of I think it's 22 games if every series went to a winner-take-all game, right? Best of 3, best of 5, 7-7, 14. Yeah, that's 22. So your guys are just constantly beat up. And so what a lot of teams end up doing is having starting pitching that only goes for like 2-3 innings instead of a normal 5 or 6. Like bullpen guys are starting. You have starting pitchers that are coming in from the bullpen to try to like get a couple innings in relief. Or you're just like what the Padres were doing was just leaning super heavy on one guy in that game that you were watching and hoping that they could save some arms for the next game potentially, right? So it
was the last game.
Well, but if you win, it's not the last game.
That's stupid.
And you've got a bunch of guys.
But you got to win first.
And okay, so it's
you can't
always
prepare for the maybe,
right? And so it's always a controversy, right? And this is where, like, normally managing a bullpen, like, I'm not going to say it's easy, but there's a formula to it. Like, you can figure it out. Like, okay, we have 5 starting pitchers in rotation. This guy's pitched in the last week. This guy hasn't. We're up, so we're going to put in this guy. If we're losing, we'll put in this guy, and you just kind of do it. In the playoffs, this is where so many managers get in trouble for mismanaging their bullpen. Like the playoff management of bullpen gets managers fired every single year.
Yeah, I just didn't understand it because it was like, dude pitched really well for 5 or maybe 6 innings, and then it was like almost a rotation of each inning.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, I'm not a baseball guy, but like playing sports, like it's really hard to get like in the zone after sitting, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then like, let me just come in for this brief. So like, it's kind of impressive to those players that did just like come in and for an inning or two and do what they needed to do. And
and that's relief pitching. I think it's always more impressive when you have a starter that comes in for a relief inning because they're used to be, it's totally, it's the same, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like if you're a starting pitcher and you're coming in the 6th in like a high leverage situation to try to buy your team a couple of innings before your closing guy comes in, like it's a lot different than being the starter and pitching. So you're going to see weird bullpen moves that you will never see during the regular season, the entire rest of the playoffs. My pick was, I think, Yankees Padres, and that's blown up now. So the Dodgers are still in it. I'd love to see Shohei get a ring.
Stop it.
If the Guardians are able to come back, I'd love to see a big-time playoff drought come to an end. And I'd love to see a Subway Series. And I'd love to see the Mets do well because they're like the lovable underdog, right? Going against the evil empire. The one thing I cannot abide is a Yankees World Series win. And every day I wake up and I pray that doesn't happen. NHL season's going too, and the Colorado Avalanche have not won a game yet.
You know who has won a game?
The Vegas Golden Knights.
The Vegas Golden Knights,
against
baby.
the Colorado Avalanche, 8-4.
Only team winning in Vegas. I guess the WNBA is winning in Vegas also.
Go Aces.
Go Aces.
Yeah.
I'm a big WNBA fan now, yeah.
Are you?
No. No, I'm not.
You know what? This year, I feel like, has been a good year for the WNBA, though. And, like, good for them for...
Yeah, they stirred up some controversy. They made a rivalry in there.
Yeah.
Whether you think that Caitlin Clark is the reason that they're doing so well or not, like, at the end of the day, no PR is bad PR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the WNBA needed. And if you look at it, they are leaps and bounds ahead of where the NBA was when they started.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like the years breakdown of like it took this long for the NBA to kind of blow up versus the WNBA. So they're on a fast track to being something super cool.
Yeah, it was a good year for women's sports. I mean, the PWHL had its first year, and that I think outperformed. Like they were selling out the Maple Leafs arena, and the Montreal Forum in Montreal.
Yeah.
So
cool to see.
It's good.
Let the girls play.
And I like the thing I like the most about the PWHL is they just said, hey, we're going to make it easy to watch. Because if you make it easy and free to watch, then people will watch. They just put every game on YouTube.
That's what I love about what's going on with all these. Like I love and hate at the same time because it's going to become another thing. But all these franchises, coming to their, I guess they're not franchises, but leagues coming to the realization that we are in 2024.
Yeah.
Not very many people have cable anymore. Let's add a streaming service to access our games.
Man, it's
NBA
so
just
easy.
came to Amazon.
Yep.
So you can watch the games on Amazon now. There's a bunch of games on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
So like I love that it's happening. I hate that there's going to be this divide and then you end up just like,
Right.
the biggest con of Earth, you know.
Right.
Oh, you just need internet. Oh, and 10 subscriptions.
Oh yeah. So anyway,
sorry.
back to the Avalanche.
Yeah.
They we're about 3 to 4 games into the season now for most teams. There are 2 teams that have 0 points in the standings, and it's an 82 game season.
Right.
So I'm trying not to freak out. I'm just, I trust the Avalanche a lot more than I trust the Mariners. So them losing the first 3 games of the season, I can take a little bit of a breath. The other team that does not have a point in the standings, who do you think it is?
Who?
It's the Nashville Predators, your favorite team.
They deserve to not. I'm just gonna say it.
They lost to the Seattle Kraken last night, 7-3, which was a really good game. I'm glad that there's at least one team in Seattle that won this week. The Utah Hockey Club also finally lost a game after they started the season 3-1-0, and their opening night game was super fun. It had a little bit of everything. It was close. Their new guy that came to the team, Dylan Gunther, who signed a long-term extension, scored the first goal in Utah. Clayton Keller, I think, scored a goal, or at least picked up a point. He's their new captain. Yeah. The vibes were just immaculate the entire night. There was some good scraps and fights in the third period, and then all the Utah fans got to go home happy. So happy for them, because anytime you have that new team, especially in a smaller market like Salt Lake City, you want to see them do well in their first game. Yeah. And shout out to the Anchorage Wolverines, who won 3-2 at the Sullivan Arena for the first time in 7 years. That was a great game as well that I was calling myself, doing play-by-play. Okay, now that we're
NFL
through with that,
news.
Okay, you want to start with big NFL news or big sad for both of us this week?
Big NFL news. That feels better.
Well, the big NFL news is the big sad for you too. Yeah. So it's kind of all weaves together.
Yeah, Devontae Adams goes to the Jets. Obviously.
Oh boy.
I think it's a little bit of a reach. I mean, I watched that Buffalo game. I just don't think Aaron Rodgers has it anymore. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. I think can win you some games, but he clearly doesn't have the ability to just put a team on his back when it's needed, right?
A whole lot of red zone appearances that didn't result in a touchdown.
And I think that's where everybody's like, that's where it's going to pay off, is in the red zone, da-da-da-da.
But I don't know if it's his receivers that are the problem in the red zone.
Apparently to him, they are. Did you see that press conference?
Yeah, but
where he blamed Mike Williams for his interception?
I'm sure to him.
I threw a no-look.
Extreme Ownership, Aaron. It's a great book. You should check it out.
Who throws a freaking no-look bomb? That's stupid in itself.
The fact that 7 of the Jets' points were off of a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. Yeah. That game was not as close as it was on paper. That said, the Jets absolutely still could have won. Yeah. But Greg Zerlin botched 2 kicks.
Yeah. And the penalties were insane, dude. I think they both had 100 yards worth of penalties.
Who was your favorite star player in that game wearing the stripes? Because that's who I was. I had one of the refs on my fantasy team, and I was super upset that they didn't throw more flags so that I could boost his It was such a good game in the first half, and then the second half comes on and it became an unwatchable product. Yeah. The only reason I still had it on is because I couldn't look away. That's not what we're supposed to be talking about, Devontae Adams, but anyway, that game was ridiculous.
So it'll be interesting to see. The other big news is that Amari Cooper is going to the Buffalo Bills. I love this trade. The only beef I have, Amari Cooper was a Raider. I'm very familiar with Amari Cooper. He has a tendency to give up on plays. And I don't know how well that's going to work in Buffalo, because they have some of the most hardcore fans. And he's a little soft. He's soft spoken, polite. He's not that in your face type of guy, superstar guy. But that is kind of what the Bills need. And my thought is that he put up good games with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
What's he going to do with a Josh Allen?
Yeah. I think that's the more interesting of the two trades because I don't think that Jamal Adams fixes any of the problems that the Jets have right now.
Yeah. Jamal Adams.
Devontae Adams. Yeah. Did I just confuse Devontae Adams with, okay, great.
Sure did. Also, Tom Brady got approved unanimously to be a partial owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So not only does he own the biggest travesty in playoff Raider history, he now owns a part of the team. So that's cool. That's fun for me. I love that. We're never going to not hear about that again. The only thing I like about it is he trains with Shedeur Sanders. I'm hoping that he can work some magic and make Shedeur come to Vegas.
I'm so glad that the Raiders exist because it makes the Seahawks nightmare of a game look better. And it's not that they lost to the Niners. The Niners are still a top team in the NFC East, even though they're NFC West. I am all over the place today.
Yeah, you are.
Even if they're 3-3, it's the fact that Geno Smith threw 2 back-breaking interceptions, and that last one was bad. DK is obviously upset, and I would be too if I had lost to the Giants this season. If this team was 4-2, no one would be that upset. Everyone would be like, they are exactly where they should be. They're fighting for a wild card spot. But you lose to the Giants, and then all of a sudden, this Niners game is really important because now you've lost 3 in a row, and their schedule is not pretty coming up. I mean, they should have been 4-2 through week 6 pretty easily based off of their opponents, and now it's put up or shut up time. I mean, in the next couple weeks, if they don't pull off some upsets, they're going to be in trouble. They do have the Falcons this week. And the Falcons are not a bottom feeder, but they are.
Talking about?
The Falcons are 4-2.
4-2.
They might be the new biggest frauds after the Seahawks.
Please roast the crap out of him.
I don't believe in the Falcons.
What the? Beep.
I don't believe in the Falcons.
You've knocked your head on something. I'm not saying like the Falcons are Super Bowl contenders. The Falcons are absolutely better than the Seahawks.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, they are. But I think that the Falcons and the Seahawks are both kind of in the same tier of fighting for a wild card spot.
So you're telling me Kirk Cousins could put up 500 yards against Tampa Bay.
Not a great defense.
Tampa Bay is not a great defense.
You want me to pull up their schedule for you?
I mean, I wouldn't say they're a great defense, but I wouldn't say that they're a bad defense.
I mean, I'm not saying that the Falcons are the Panthers. I'm saying that the Falcons are not the Niners. The Niners are a tougher team than the Falcons. And so if you're the Seahawks, like this is a team that you can beat. It's not a team that you necessarily like should beat or it should be a win on the schedule. That was the Giants who you lost to. But you look at their schedule in the next couple of weeks and the Falcons have kind of turned into a must-win game based off of where they're at.
All right. Fair enough.
You don't think the Falcons are a beatable team?
Not for the Seahawks, no.
Really? You think that they should just like roll over and we're done? Like,
I don't know about roll over, we're done, but I think your defense is slipping.
Our defense is injured.
Your offense looks lost.
Our offense
Your coach
great.
Also looks
our offensive
lost.
line
Your
is
coach
not
looks
great.
Lost as well.
First year head coach. I'm gonna give.
He still looks lost, and the Falcons are heating up. They're coming off of 3 straight wins. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I mean, I don't. I think I said it at the beginning when they went 3-0. They were the biggest 3-0 fraud of all the teams still undefeated.
Definitely.
And they've lost 3 straight.
Now that the Steelers are 4-2, definitely seems to be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to give Mike McDonald a little bit of a pass because he's a defensive guy and his defense is injured to hell and back. So I'm not gonna rip on Mike McDonald. I get that Geno doesn't have an offensive line, but he might be the person that I'm most frustrated with on this team.
That's your only saving grace with this Atlanta game because Atlanta doesn't really have a pass rush. So you got a chance there. Anyways, let's not spend all day on the Seahawks.
Yeah, should we move on to you?
Yeah, so let's just talk about my full tilt.
Okay.
So
I just want to read off.
Hold on, let me start. So
you preface this.
This is how it started. Okay, this is how it started. So Sunday, I'm enjoying my day. It's football day, right? Who doesn't like football?
The Lord's Day.
It's the Lord's Day.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying my day, and my fantasy teams are looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, look at this. We might have a chance here.
Yep.
Okay. Then I start watching the Raiders game, and I'm like,
that'll put you in a bad mood.
First drive, looking pretty good. Maybe we have an upset here. No. Absolutely not. Right? So I'm like, okay, it's a wash. I'm done with the Raiders. Tank for Shador. It's over. Right? Well, and then I put up 208 points in a loss.
That was pretty backbreaking.
Right.
I felt really bad. And 208 points is a lot for most people playing like a normal fantasy football league. This is double QB, 3 wideouts, 2 flex, PPR, dynasty. So it's
the scoring is expected, but
208 is the second most points in the league for context. Let's say that 208 was the second most points in the league.
Literally beat anybody.
And you lost to the person that scored more.
Yep.
Shout out Joel. Which also happened to me this year, by the way.
And then in my ESPN league, looking good, sounding good. Oh no, he's creeping back. I'm thinking I'm gonna lose because he's within 10 and he has Dalton Kincaid left, right? And I'm like, I'm probably going to lose. So I'm okay with it. But then this happens. I lose 131.06 to 131.4. Okay.
And you had a player that had negative points on the day. Negative points on the day.
Thank you, ETN. And so I am dying inside. And then this lovely commissioner here decided to set up a league where you cannot drop players if they've played. So James Cook was a very, very late inactive. Was looking like he was going to play. Everybody was saying he's going to play. He's going to play. He's going to play. He didn't play. And so I lost to Julia.
Julia's 4-2. I'm 2-4.
Anyways,
so I don't know what your problem is.
This created a full tilt.
You have officially taken it too far, buddy.
I've gone too far.
So this is the important league because this is the league that you and I have money on, right?
Yeah.
The work league, I am struggling, and I don't know why because I think I've assembled a fantastic roster.
Well, I know why, because my commissioner sucks. That's why.
So here's a list of players that Bryan has traded away in the last week.
Oh man. Okay.
This is how many players do we have on the roster? 17? 17 with 2 IR slots.
Yeah.
List of players that Bryan has traded away. Travis Etienne, Tank Dell.
Yeah. Which I'm okay with because I got. Hold on though.
Yeah. We'll get to who you get.
Okay.
Travis Etienne, Tank Dell, Justin Fields. I have to open the assets. Trey McBride. Then drop David Njoku. Dropped a defense, so that I won't count that, but that's 6 players that you've dropped. Dropped Rico Dowdle, that's 7. Then another trade late last night. Traded J.K. Dobbins, traded Garrett Wilson, that's 9 players.
Yeah.
And then put James Cook on the block.
Yeah.
So you have 17 players on your roster And you have moved.
Did you put McBride in there?
I put McBride in there.
Okay.
You have moved 10 players in the last week. And I think my text to you this morning was, do you just hate the team that you drafted?
No, I don't.
You just hate every player that you drafted?
Okay, so
because someone needs to take your phone away. It's not about the players you got back. Because 2 of those trades, I think we've swapped. You've given me 4 and I've given you 5. And like, it's not about the players that you're getting and the players that you're leaving. It's that you've moved 10 guys in the last week.
Yeah. I got a case of trade-itis, dude.
That is too many.
You just it's like when you play a Madden franchise mode and you're like, I'm going to fix this team right now. And the next thing you know, and you do, but the next thing you know, it's like the next season and you have 0 draft pick. I've done that where I have like only a 4th round draft pick. I went a little hard in the paint, dude. I had a plan. And that plan kept going sideways because our league doesn't like to make trades. So like my whole plan in getting rid of McBride was to get Marvin Harrison Jr. That was clearly not going to happen. His ask was too high for me. He wanted Breece Hall, who I just traded for. And so I pivoted. Dude, I sent that J.K. Dobbins and Garrett Wilson trade to everybody. To everybody. And I feel fleeced because I know, Mr. Wesley Brewington, if you're watching this, I know that you're not a ding dong, and I know that you know fantasy football, and I know that you probably, because it took him all of 5 minutes to accept that trade. And that's how you know
that so here's the trade. And I will say, not because I'm biased, but you made 2 trades with me where we swapped. I think you gave me 2 draft picks. I got a 4th and a 9th.
Yep.
I traded away Breece Hall. That was in the Tank Dell trade where I also got Travis Etienne, who immediately had a bad week, but he was on my bench. So I'm fine with that. I got other running backs. I can hang on to him. And I really like my wideout core now. I didn't want to wait around for Breece Hall. I do think you got much better value in that, but the other trade that we just made was Dak, Jake Ferguson, and Jordan Addison for Justin Fields, who may or may not be playing the rest of this season. Mm-hmm. But then Trey McBride, and there's a premium on tight ends that actually put up points this season. It's been such a bad year, and a 4th round pick,
which felt fine to me because then I went and picked up Evan Ingram, who was on our waivers and put up 18 points last week.
And I'm fine getting rid of Dak because I have the number 1 and number 2 QBs in the league right now with Baker and Lamar.
Yeah.
So those 2 trades, I feel like we're addressing some needs. We're good.
Yeah.
This one sucks.
This one sucks so bad.
And
it literally kept me
up. I woke up to it this morning because you said, I'm going down swinging.
Yeah.
And your going down swinging is sending J.K. Dobbins, Garrett Wilson, 6th round pick 2025, which is basically a 9th round pick in a starter league because we're keeping 3 players.
Keep 3 players.
For Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper would have to be like a top 5 wideout the rest of the year for this to make any sense to me. Yeah. Because you've traded like RB2, wide receiver 2, admittedly, but 2 guys that are going to put up double-digit points for you week in and week out, and a draft pick for some reason to get 1 guy that you've never even seen take a snap with his new team.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that.
Someone needs to take your phone away.
I had the ability to lock rosters, and I literally thought about locking my roster. But so what happened was I panicked because you sent me 3 players. I already don't have the roster room. Right? And I have Cooper Kupp coming back. I have Jonathan Taylor coming back. And so, like, I was like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? 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 And nobody was biting on Garrett Wilson. So I had to, like, do something to make it better. But
enticing.
Yeah, but it is a little too enticing, I think, with the J.K. Dobbins part.
What really makes
there's no going back now.
What really makes me upset is that Garrett Wilson was originally part of that package that we were trying to make work out. And you're like, oh, I can't see how losing Trey McBride and Garrett Wilson in the same trade makes any sense. And I'm like trying to find options. I'm like, you
you want a Garrett Wilson, Trey McBride for Addison and Dak, bro? Like that's not.
Well, I mean, but we were in talks, and then I was like, okay, well, let's just take Garrett Wilson out of it. Really, what I need is Trey McBride, and we continue. It's not that I'm upset you didn't accept a trade with Garrett Wilson. It's that then you just shipped Garrett Wilson away
for nothing.
For
okay, so
Amari.
Here is my thought though. Okay, Amari Cooper had a 27-point game with Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper also, the game that he played Las Vegas, had an 80-yard touchdown called back. What does Josh Allen like to do? What does Josh Allen like to do? Answer the question, Isaac.
What's he like to do? Run the ball and throw good passes and I don't know, chuck deep balls.
Throw it deep, dude.
Oh yeah.
Amari Cooper can do that. He doesn't need a lot of time in order to do that. I don't know, dude.
Okay, so I just typed in this trade into the RotoTrade trade analysis without the draft pick. And this is the reaction GIF that they put on the screen. I actually don't know what actor that is, but it says, "No way. Do not make this trade. Oh boy, not trying to be mean, but you can't be serious about this. You'd be giving up the best asset in this trade, Garrett Wilson. Not to mention the overall value is significantly better on your side. So yeah, this trade would not make any sense." And then you added a draft pick to that. Go to jail. Go to timeout. That's all the time that we have for today. Even when we're rooting against each other,
full tilt, please.
Sports bring us together. If you want to be in a fantasy football league with Bryan next year, reach out. Bryan at my house, Matt Sue. Wow. But yeah, you don't want to give up Garrett Wilson in a trade to me. That it just didn't make sense. I'm gonna give away 101 points of total value for 40.8. We'll see you next time on To the House with an update on who's left playing for Bryan's fantasy team.
I don't know, dude.
Oh boy! It said, "Oh boy." Look at this.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Oh boy. Not trying to be mean, but you can't be serious about it.
Okay, but here's the deal. Garrett Wilson is going to start putting up 6 for 6